it's Hailey, and it's been a while since I've done a recent read, so that is exactly what we're going to be doing today. It is incredibly hot and humid in this room right now. I am dying for when we move and have air conditioning because oh my goodness, but I have a pretty decent stack of books here that I have not gotten the chance to talk to you guys about. So I'm going to be pretty brief with it just because usually I'll have like 5 or 6 in these videos and today I have 8. And I don't want this video to be ages long, so we are going to be quick and snappy about it. But as per usual, if you are interested in hearing about a particular book, I will have the timestamp in the description box down below, and I will also be keeping it spoiler free, just kind of thoughts, mini review. So if you haven't read any of these books, no problem, I will not be spoiling anything, but let's just get into it. So the first book that I have here in no particular order is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. So if you watched my mid-year freakout or my faves of the year, I'm pretty sure I talked about this book in both of them, but you know then that I did really love this one. So this follows best friends, and it's a friends to lovers, second chance romance, and a travel story as well. Like, it is everything that I want from an adult romance. This is by the author of Beach Read, and you follow the main characters Poppy and Alex. I can't remember character names, so I apologize, but it's told alternating between the present when they've kind of had a falling out and now they're going on a vacation together again after 2 years they haven't spoke, but all throughout, like, I think it was college basically, they would go on all these different trips together. They would go to all sorts of different places and have these fun vacations. And now the main character is a travel writer and she feels like she's lacking inspiration and everything, so she ends up having him go on one of these trips again. I loved the chemistry between these two characters and I loved the traveling aspect. I thought it was so well done, really transported me to all of those places, and just their relationship was beautiful. It was so well done. Emily Henry just has a way of writing these adult romances that have a little bit more to them, and they have amazing characters and relationships. It blows me away every time. After reading Beach Read, my expectations were really high for this one, and I am so glad that I wasn't disappointed. Like, it was just beautiful. The alternating between then and now, I felt like really rounded out the story because you could see how they were in the past, how their trips went and everything, and it was a lot of fun to follow that and then see as they're trying to find their footing again in the present. So highly recommend this one, really loved it, definitely worth the read. This is also like the perfect summer read for by the pool, on the beach, whatever. It's perfect for that, but also any time of year. Next is Full Disclosure by Camryn Garrett. So this is a story about an HIV positive teen who she is going to a new school for the first time, and she's excited to have the opportunity to start over because last time her status was revealed, it turned into a mess pretty much. So now she's going to this new school and no one knows, except someone starts blackmailing her because she starts falling for this guy. They start blackmailing her to reveal her status to the whole school. This was a super informative read and at the same time very enjoyable. Like, there was a lot of information in it, but I never felt like I was drowning in information. I didn't feel like medical facts and everything were being shoved in my face. It helped me have an understanding of this disease, but in a way that I was still reading a story about a character that felt very realistic to me. I could totally picture like other kids and other teenagers and such, and just adults, other people who had dealt with this illness, and how once people find out, they treat them so horribly. So I really felt for the main character in this story. I don't know why, but this year I seem to be reading a lot of books that deal with musicals. I don't understand. It's very random, but like I can think of like 3 off the top of my head, not even including this one, but there is a musical in this. So she is helping with Rent and directing that, and basically it's a love story and it's about her dealing with her status and how other people react to that and how she can live comfortably and tell other people without them treating her like a pariah or something. So I really thought this was very well done. I think it is a fantastic read. The writing was great and it was a good mix of having information but also being an enjoyable story at the same time. Next up is Jay's Gay Agenda by Jason June. I wanted to love this book so much, but I really didn't like certain parts of it. Of Other things I loved, but there are certain parts of it that just kind of ruined the whole for me. So this is dealing with the main character Jay, and he ends up moving from a small town to Seattle, and he's super excited because he finally is going to get to experience queer culture for the first time. So he has this whole bucket list of things that he wants to do. He no longer is going to be like the only gay kid at his school. He is going to find a whole community of others like him. So my main issue with this was that there were a couple of ways that the romance could have gone, and it could have been adorable. The main character just makes some really, really bad choices, and I felt like the other character deserved better. So it was very frustrating to watch that, and I just did not like that. I did like him learning all about queer culture and being exposed to that, and I felt like I was learning more about it alongside him, which was really fun, but it was just something about the way the relationships went did not work for me, and I just found to be really frustrating. So that was a bit of a letdown, but it wasn't a total letdown. Like, there definitely were things that I liked about it, but there also were some things that I really didn't like. Next up is When You Get the Chance by Tom Ryan and Robin Stevenson. So I have had this book for over a year now because I was saving it to read during Pride Month, so I finally read it in June, and this is about, it's actually set in Canada, which is really fun, but it's about a road trip that these cousins go on because they are both queer, and they go on this road trip to go to Toronto Pride. So that's basically the only thing that they have in common, is the fact that they are members of the LGBTQ plus community. Other than that, they really butt heads. They just don't get along, and they're very different people. But you get to see them bond over the course of this story. But once again, this kind of was a case of having really annoying characters. The basis of it could have been great, but oh my goodness, both of the main characters just annoyed the crap out of me, so it made it very difficult to read. I did enjoy the fact that it was set in Canada. That was really nice, but these characters, they kind of killed me a little bit. Next up is Instructions for Dancing by Nicola Yoon. I was super excited to have a new Nicola Yoon book that I had to read it pretty much right away, and I did really enjoy this. The Sun Is Also a Star is still my favorite by her, but this one was still really great. She has fantastic writing. So in this case, we are dealing with a main character who has become very disillusioned with love. Her parents are getting a divorce, and she just kind of has fallen out of love with love. She used to read romance stories all the time, but now she has no interest in it. So she ends up coming across this Instructions for Dancing book, which is ballroom dancing, and she goes to this ballroom dancing studio and she starts ballroom dancing. And actually, I missed a key part there. After she gets this book, all of a sudden, whenever she sees a couple kiss, she sees like the relationship from the very beginning to the very end. So obviously that's going to be really stressful, and also probably make you a little bit out of touch with love if you're seeing how these couples who everything seems great are going to like go up in flames essentially. But she ends up entering this amateur dancing competition with the main male character. What is his name? Her name is Evie, his name is X, right? And she starts kind of falling for him, and obviously she's not exactly happy about that because she doesn't believe in love anymore. I loved the characters in this story. I loved watching their relationship unfold. I thought they were really cute. They were a great match with each other, but sometimes I felt like the story was lacking a little bit of direction, and I didn't really know so much what I was reading about. I don't know if it might be because I was distracted at the time of reading this. Like, there has been a lot of distractions recently, so that might be a factor in it, but I just kind of felt like at points I was like, I don't really know where the plot's going. That being said though, I did still really like this. The characters were super enjoyable, and what there was going for a plot was something that I liked. It's just I didn't know like where the climax was gonna go or anything like that. I felt like it seemed like a very quiet plot, if that makes sense. Definitely more of a character-driven story in my opinion, but totally worth the read. Like, she is just a great writer. Next up is My Contrary Mary by the Lady Janies, aka Cynthia Hand, Brodi, Ashton, and Jodi Meadows. I loved this, and I am so happy that I did, because I didn't really like the last book by these authors. It's not that I didn't really like it, I was just quite disappointed by it. My Calamity Jane was not my favorite, but My Lady Jane and My Plain Jane, those ones I really liked. So when I heard they were coming out with a Mary series, and this one was set in the same world as My Lady Jane, I was immediately so excited, and I am very thrilled that this was a smashing success for me. If you're unfamiliar with these stories, they are satirical takes on history or different fictional novels. In this case, it is a satirical take on Mary Queen of Scots and her story. So you have Mary Queen of Scots, you have Francis, and you have Nostradamus, but his daughter, which is really interesting. And you get all of their perspectives, and it's different because these characters, like, they can be people, but then some of them can turn into animals. So Mary has the ability to turn into a mouse. It is just like something that shouldn't work but totally does, and I enjoy it so much. There were many times when I was laughing out loud. The narrators are pretty much characters in the story, and they tell the story like no other. They have little interjections, and like there's little things that just add so much to the story. Like, they're talking about Titanic, but that hasn't happened yet, but like they're talking about the Titanic movie and how there's room on the door. Like, little bits like that just make me smile and make me have a blast while reading these. I also loved that it was set in the world of My Lady Jane. I love that some of those characters came up. That was really fun. And Mary Queen of Scots is definitely a character that I find very interesting. This pretty much read like Rain. Like, if you watched Rain, which I did, I couldn't help but picture all of the characters in there. And also there were a couple of like nods to Rain. Like, they mentioned Bash, and then they mention there's a character named Greer. So I would assume that's intentional. I don't know for sure, but I couldn't help but picture all of the characters as like who they were in Rain. Even Catherine de Medici, I just kept on picturing as Anne of Green Gables or Megan Follows. I couldn't help it, but oh my goodness, it was just so great. I loved the fact that it was kind of like a funny, nonsensical version of Rain, in my opinion. If you enjoyed that show, I think you'd have a really good chance of enjoying this. And if you liked My Lady Jane, I would say definitely give this one a go. No matter how you felt about the other two, this is more on par with that one, especially with like the Tudor era. It's just so fun. Next is I Wish You All the Best by Mason Deaver. This features a non-binary main character who they come out to their parents, and their parents end up kicking them out. So they end up going to stay with their sister, and they're trying to get their feet under them and kind of start again after their parents have completely rejected them and left them hanging this entire time. So it's really a coming of age story and a story of self-discovery for the main character as they are trying to deal with the fact that they're non-binary, but now they're afraid to come out to other people because of how their parents reacted. All the while they are struggling with anxiety disorder, which is prevalent and might be triggering, so just a warning for that while reading this book. But they are also starting to have feelings for one of their new friends, so they have a lot going on, and you get to see them dealing with all of this. It could be hard to read at times because I just felt so much for the main character, but to see them growing and developing over the course of the story was really a pleasure to read about. And the final book that I have to talk about is the Falling in Love Montage by Ciara Smyth. So I found out I was saying the first name wrong because it is Irish, so I apologize for that, and thank you to the person who corrected me on that. But this is a female-female romance, and it is once again about a character who is very disillusioned with love. I don't know why that seems to be the common trend for me lately, but I keep on just finding characters like that. She does have a good reason for not believing in love. It's because her mother has early onset Alzheimer's. I believe it's Alzheimer's. I'm not sure if it's Alzheimer's or dementia, but essentially she doesn't even remember her own daughter. So obviously, like, when you watch your mother go through something like that, it's going to be hard to believe that you can ever have love, as it is a hereditary condition. So she doesn't want to fall in love with someone and then completely forget about them. The main character is dealing with a lot. Like, her father, well, her mother is still alive, but she's in a home because of her illness. Her father has found someone new and is remarrying, and she's really struggling with that. And I totally understood why the main character is so angry, and I felt like this, while being a really nice love story, also had a lot of emotional levels to it. Like, I just very much felt for the main character and everything she was facing and everything she was going through, because it's a horrible situation, and I think that the way that she's dealing with it is really the only way that she knows how. how. So I felt like this was a story where you do see a lot of character development, but it also is just a very difficult situation overall. That did make it a little bit hard to read at times, but I did still really like it. Okay, so those are all of the books that I have read recently that I wanted to share with you guys today. So please do let me know if you have read any of these books, your thoughts on them, because I would love to know. And I think I did a pretty good job of keeping it short and sweet. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in a new video soon. Bye!